the next thing that I want to work on is how to make people better decision makers thanks to AI. The best players in the country would come play for him in Los Angeles, and what he would do is he would sit him down and say, before we touch a basketball, I'm going to teach you how to put your socks on properly. The advice I would give is think about the consequences of your decision. And that's easy to say, but harder to implement, because a lot of times what that forces us to do is to pause and get some imagination going and try to think of what the future would look like if you take that path.
Looking for real stories of real people making a difference in the Grand Canyon State? Welcome to Finding Arizona podcast. We sit down with Arizona's inspiring entrepreneurs, creators, and community leaders and give you a front row seat to their journeys, passions, and projects. Whether you're a local trying to find a hidden gem or just enjoy watching someone chase their dreams, Finding Arizona is your go-to place for authentic conversations with a desert twist. New episodes drop weekly, so hit subscribe and start exploring Arizona one story at a time. Welcome back, everybody, to the Fighting Arizona podcast. I'm your host, Jose, and as always, we bring in fantastic guests every week. And today's no different. I want to just say, because I am just infatuated with some of the people that we meet, and one of the things that infatuates me most is when you are thinking bigger outside yourself and actually helping people with just more than the present day, but generationally. So today is going to be a wonderful conversation. If you're ever wondering how the big businesses and organizations in the world are actually make their biggest decisions, today's guest has spent his career inside that question. So Ricardo here is an engineer, social entrepreneur, sports scientist, and engineering professor whose work sits at one of the most fascinating intersections I've ever come across. He's advised SpaceX, the U.S. Army, Major League Baseball, the NCAA, which means that he has genuinely rare view of how elite organizations think, choose, and act under pressure. But I just want to say this. Here is what I think makes Ricardo's story different from typical academics and consultants. He's never been content to keep those ideas inside the boardrooms and lecture halls. He has founded a nonprofit called Science of Sports, in which has reached over 700,000 students by doing something remarkably clever, which I was very passionate about, teaching math and science through the language of sports. He's also the author of the 5-Tool Team, which we will get into in our conversation today. Ricardo has a gift for making complex ideas feel clear and actionable. Thank you for coming on the show, and welcome to Finding Arizona podcast.
Thank you, Jose. Great to be here.
Again, this is going to be fun because I think based on just my analysis of your actual work of like you being in front of the camera, it's going to be genuinely a blast to talk to you.
I'm looking forward to it. I even brushed my teeth today for you.
Oh, I appreciate that. That's gonna work with this smell-o-vision going on over here. So the first question that we typically ask everyone is, give us your origin story. You went from MIT research labs to the Major League Baseball dugouts to elementary schools, and that's a wild arc. Where did it all start, and like what first made an engineer fall in love with the way people and organizations make decisions?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I've jumped coasts a few times. So I grew up in Ensenada, Mexico, and then did school in San Diego and Los Angeles. And then after finishing all my schooling, I made the long journey out to Boston for about six winters, if you want to count it in that that unit of measure. And then
a lot of people would want to count that unit of measure, just to prove how long you were really there.
Exactly. For a California kid to learn how to shovel snow as an adult, It's a little different. But after 6 years there, moved out west to Arizona, and I've been in Tucson for the last 15 years. And I'm having a ton of fun doing it because, like you pointed out, I get to interact with a lot of different audiences,
Yeah.
and it just makes you really sharpen your message and tailor it to the right
Yeah.
audience so that you can make an impact in the things that they're doing, the lives that they're living.
Yeah. So we're going to transition into you've advised SpaceX, the U.S. Army, MLB, all of these organizations that couldn't be more different from on the surface. What's one decision making mistake you see consistently across all of them?
Yeah, I think that these organizations have something in common is that they don't think about decision making enough.
Mm-hmm.
They just react. And a lot of times it works out okay, but sometimes it doesn't. So it's worth giving how much is at stake here. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
people's lives, it's the safety of people, it's a lot of money as well, but it's also it might be somebody's career or education. No matter what's at stake, it still is worth investing in wondering how do you become better at making decisions,
Yeah.
and that's really what I've dedicated the last few years about is kind of going back to fundamentals. And
Mm-hmm.
if you understand the fundamentals, you do the blocking and tackling well, a lot of things downstream just turned out better.
Yeah. I mean, again, the decision making factor. I mean, you've probably witnessed a ton of like generations, like from young age to adulthood, and just experiencing that level of decision making and how the brain develops. I imagine it's such an intriguing thing as far as from an engineer standpoint, but also as a person who's just like interacting with other individuals. So I can't imagine it's like your career has spanned at so many levels and so many thought process levels too. So it's just really I look at it as a standpoint of like the outsider looking in. Of like this man has just witnessed so many great people, things, operations, and just has just tried his best to kind of really reiterate, of like you said, the fundamentals of just thought process and just common sense, so to speak. And I'll get into some of the things that you've talked in about your practical tools and for decision making, including one of the things I've witnessed was like the flash method. Can you break that down for our listeners? If someone is sitting in their car after this episode, what's one thing they can actually apply to a decision they're facing this week?
Absolutely. So the FLASH method is an acronym that I came up with that contains 5 tools. And I'll get to those 5 tools in just a second. Let me answer
Yeah.
the first the simpler question, which is what's one really quick thing somebody could do to become a better decision maker?
Yeah.
And I would the advice I would give is think about the consequences of your decision.
Mhm.
And that's easy to say, but harder to implement because a lot of times what that forces us to do is to pause and get some imagination going and
Yeah.
try to think of what the future would look like if you take that path, or
Yeah.
if you make that decision, or if you make that investment, or if you take that job, or if you buy that house. Whatever that decision is, you have to think about, this is the creative part, is you have to think about the consequence that the decision will have on you and on others, and
Yeah.
that requires some headspace. So maybe on your drive home or to work, you can spend a little bit of that mental energy to run through those scenarios in your mind and play it out, and that will help you become a better decision maker.
I genuinely agree with that 100%. Some might say it's like I think about the consequences. I just have this imagination where it's like scenarios, different scenarios that run through my head,
Yeah.
and I try my best to um, make the worst decision like play out, and if I can live with that decision, like even if it plays out bad, I don't know, there's something about that falling off the tipping point that I've gotten better at achieving that, making pulling the trigger, so to speak. That's been a kind of thing that I have struggled with, and I have gotten better at it, especially in my own business. I've really made strides to like help myself either build confidence in the decision making or come up with strategies to help me dwindle down kind of the scenarios, so to speak. And so I appreciate you even giving us a little bit of insight. I know that there was a part two, I believe, that I just want to, if there was another section that you wanted to get into.
Yeah, so I'll just walk through the flash acronym very
Yeah.
quickly. So the F is for focusing on the right questions to ask. Anytime you're going to make a decision, there's a series of things that you need to know, like
Mhm. Yeah.
when does this decision need to be made, and who is responsible for making the decision, and who is going to judge the quality of this decision. Right? There's so many important questions, and I really elaborate much further in my book about what those decisions are, and you can sort of treat it as a checklist of things. So that's the F. The L is to look at the information from multiple perspectives. And what I've found is that that's very powerful, because if we only look at data or information from one perspective, there might be something we're missing here. And by changing our perspective, we might actually see new insights that we otherwise would have missed.
Yeah.
The A is what we've already covered: analyze the consequences, right, of those decisions.
Yeah.
The S is scrutinize the options available, right?
Yeah.
And then the H is humanize it. Because at the end of the day, even with all of this fancy artificial intelligence tools that are at our fingertips, we're still humans making decisions that are going to impact other humans.
Yes. Yes. I mean, again, I go back to the one of the golden rules of like treat others how you want to be treated yourself, and so that genuinely brings me back to empathy and kind of the thought of others and bringing that into light of my decisions. So that's one of the things that I kind of really fall heavy on when it comes to hard decisions and hard, a struggle with sometimes. I will go into one of your core ideas is focusing on the decision making and process rather than the outcome, because outcomes are often influenced by chance. That's a hard sell in a business culture obsessed with results. How do you convince a CEO or a coach to trust the process when the scoreboard is right there?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's really why it makes it so difficult to separate decisions from outcomes. But so to use a sport metaphor, a lot of times we are only judging the quality of decisions based on whether we win or lose the game,
Yeah.
right? But the reality is the season is much longer than one game, right? And so what the advice that I like to give is, if you feel like you're making good decisions, know that you can only control the decision,
Yeah.
control the controllables, which is just the decision. You
Mm-hmm.
don't control the outcome, because, like you said, the outcome is due to chance. The outcome is due to what the other team is doing as well. The outcome
Yeah.
might be due to weather. Like maybe the wind blew a certain direction and the ball went a little farther, right? So
Yeah.
so that's what makes it fascinating to revisit, because it's such an easy tendency to just say, hey, did we win or did we lose, and then
Yeah.
let's use that outcome as a judge of our decision quality. But the fundamental concept here that's important is we can still make good decisions even if the outcome sometimes is bad. We should not change our strategy. We should keep doing what we're doing if we feel that it's a good, fundamentally good. Keep
Yeah.
doing what you're doing. And this is the whole advice that coaches often give, is trust the process,
Yeah.
right? Why do they say that? Because if you have a sound process, then over time, you're going to get good results.
Exactly. I just again there's when I hear the trust the process, I'm also from a little bit of spent some time out in Philadelphia, so it's just like going to the 76ers. My brain is just connected going to that, being there. They're saying so. I will, before we start getting into the book part of this, I do want to touch upon your nonprofit side and Science of Sport and the Big Bet. You founded it back in 2012, and you've reached over 700 students, but at the beginning, you were a professor betting that you could get kids excited about math, and by talking about it through the process of batting averages, field goals. What did that leap feel like, and what almost made it not work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I didn't really stumble upon this idea of using baseball to teach math until later in my career. So yeah,
Okay.
I grew up playing baseball for sure, and I grew up playing a ton of sports. I was that kid that would be out there until the sun went down, and I still play tennis, golf, anything that I can get my hands on.
Great.
But it wasn't until I'd say my early 30s that I came across Moneyball, the book,
Yes.
and
Okay.
that's what lit the fire inside me and gave me the idea of using baseball as the conduit, as the topic to talk to kids about analytics and numbers and numeracy, right? And
Yeah.
so I actually feel like I was very lucky that at that point in my life
Mhm.
I found my why,
Nice.
right? And
Is your
my
aha
why,
moment?
yeah, my why was to teach people numeracy. And numeracy is how to make decisions with data.
I like that.
Do you see
That's
the connection to the book
yeah,
now?
I do. Yeah, I do see it. I saw it when your bio came up. I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to go into analytics and just this book in general because it's again, I think it is a real open door. The Pandora's box, it was open when this book was created because you start to really see people's interest peak a little bit more. I guess the more of the culture of it is displayed more. I'm sure there were guys who were deep into analytics way before that, but it just imagine that the culture of it was just more vibrant after this book comes out. So I will kind of build upon that. Your programs have been used by D-backs, Mavericks, Galaxies, these really top name arenas and places. To how do you get professional sports franchise to say yes to STEM education partnerships?
Along the way, when you get a chance to talk to people about this idea, it kind of sells itself because you, especially like my passion, comes off
Oh,
genuinely, I
100%.
hope.
No, 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 no. If we could be candid here, I was telling you off air, and I'm telling the listeners, I was watching you do these kind of lectures and just the vibrancy of your passion, like the vibrancy of the joy and the integration of jokes and just kind of like the culture of baseball is just thrown in there. And it's again, it's genuine because you can see how much you're having fun with it. And so I definitely like, I can tell from that side of it. It's like you're very good at having this be something you're passionate about and can just talk about for days.
I can, and what's been fun is finding other people who want to get on that rocket ship
Yeah.
and get on that journey. And I've met so many excellent people throughout the years, and they see the connection that I'm describing. They see it right away. It doesn't take more than just a few seconds. And then the next question is, how do we do this? How do we scale this? How do we impact as many youth as possible?
Yeah.
And we've been lucky. We started with Major League Baseball, and like you said, the Diamondbacks were our first supporter of the effort, and they still are our biggest supporter all these
Yeah.
years, going on
Nice.
13 years with the Diamondbacks Science of Baseball program.
Nice.
And we've spread to over a third of Major League Baseball, are our partners, and now we do work with the NBA, the NFL, Major League Soccer, and hopefully we'll be doing things with the Olympics in LA in 2 years.
My fingers are crossed because I would have to say it's like I get really intrigued by sports analytics and just the science of the technology side, where it's like capturing the data. So I was a big fan of when they had the sports science show, the analytics of like show of like they would show on Sports
Yes.
Center and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And so that was something that intrigued me. So like that data collection, just how we calculate and interpret that data too is like he hits like a Mack truck. Like those things come from somewhere, and so I just really am intrigued by that side of it. So the the sports of it is sometimes even more intriguing too, because you have what we were discussing. It's like some of it is involuntary or like out of the wind direction. You know, all of these things can and change on a dime, and it just means turmoil for you or your team. So it's like I just really find it so intriguing when it comes to all of these interpretations, all these circles, Venn diagrams coming together. So that's really what genuinely I find intriguing about that analytic side. So I will go into now your book. The five tool team uses baseball's five tool player concept to talk about building great teams and making better decisions. What are the five tools, and which one do you think makes leaders and entrepreneurs are most likely to be missing?
Yeah, and so the five tools in baseball are, for baseball players at least, are hitting for average, hitting for power, running, fielding, and throwing.
Okay.
So if you're a Major League Baseball scout, you're
Yep.
evaluating a player based on those five tools. And so I wondered whether I could come up with five tools for decision makers that we could also start to make a little bit more specific and
Mhm.
quantify somebody's behaviors relative to those tools, but also help them improve.
Yeah.
And so those are the five that I mentioned earlier, the Flash framework. And it's been a lot of fun because I've had a chance to workshop the idea quite a bit with different organizations. So the ones that you can probably obviously think of, SpaceX, Major League Baseball, the US Army, right? And what's fascinating is that these five concepts, the Flash framework for decision making, are universal.
Hmm.
They apply to all of these organizations because they all make decisions. They all
Mhm.
face the this dilemma of when do you trust the data versus when do you trust your gut.
Mhm.
They have to analyze the quality of their decisions as well. Like how good are we at making decisions? Anybody ever asked that question, right?
Yeah.
Um, but also from a leadership standpoint, every one of these organizations wants to do big, ambitious things,
Mm.
right? And they're not done by an individual person, they're done by teams. So that's why I structured the concept of the book really around how do teams make decisions. It's
Yeah.
still individual people that comprise a team, but they all have unique skills. So just like on the baseball field, you have somebody who throws hard, you put that
Yeah.
person on the mound. You have somebody who has excellent speed, you put that person in center field. you
Mm.
you uh you also need somebody who can manage the game and the strategy. You put that person behind the plate as the catcher, right? So there's all these individual skills that you hone, and you put those people in the perfect position to help you win. And SpaceX is the same way, right? You try to hire the best mechanical engineer, the best software engineer, the best supply chain person, and
Yeah.
together they're going to make a rocket ship.
Sooner it's what's that saying? Oh gosh, and I don't want to butcher it, but it's like, you know, we strive to get better at things, and we want to make all the right decisions. We just, you know, there are elements that you can do to help yourself succeed, and elements that you can and achieve to, you know, and these tools I thoroughly think are again applicable to a lot of it. You were saying it's universal. It's definitely. But I would love to just from your concept and how, because you are the author, it's I want to get into a lot of the how did you pick a lot of these elements, or it's like how did you pick the title? Because again, we talked about that concept of the of coming from baseball, but I'd love to get your finalization of like, this is the name that I'm going with. This is why I'm choosing to stick with this name particularly.
Yeah, there's actually a great story about the name of the book. It was not my first choice.
Okay.
My first choice was actually something that came from lesson from John Wooden, who's the famous UCLA basketball coach.
I do
Eh,
know.
Yeah.
I have heard.
So John Wooden won, I think, more than 10 national championships with just
Yes.
an awesome squad of players. Bill Walton, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, future Hall of Famers in the NBA.
Mhm.
So what John Wooden would do on the first day of practice
Mhm.
for his players, and again, he was recruiting like all American high school players. The best players in the country would come play for him in Los Angeles. And what he would do is he would sit him down and say, before we touch a basketball, I'm going to teach you how to put your socks on properly.
Hmm. Okay.
And the players would look at him like, is this guy nuts? Like, I'm the best 3-point shooter in the country, or I'm the best rebounder in the country. Like, what are we doing talking about, our attire?
Yeah.
And what the message that John Wooden was trying to deliver was that you've got to get the fundamentals right.
Uh-huh.
And once you learn how to put your socks on properly to avoid wrinkles in your socks, that's going to prevent blisters. And if you prevent blisters, then you're going to be able to execute your footwork correctly. And if you execute your footwork correctly, you're going to be able to run the plays. And if you run the plays, you're going to score points, win games, win championships, and so on and so forth, right? And so all these good decisions begin to stack positively. And I just love that example because it's so simple to understand, so easy for people to just get it, right? And
Yeah.
everybody wears socks.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Most people wear
Most
socks.
people. Yeah. But
So,
it's like I reiterate this little saying to my family, my personal family, and it's just like every little bit counts. Like
yeah,
it's like could be like a walk. You go outside and go for a walk. Like ultimately it makes you healthier, it makes you feel better. The endorphins are going, and so it's like a good decision that you made for yourself. It's like those little wins count.
they absolutely do.
Always.
They absolutely do. There's sort of a related saying that how you do something is how you do everything,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
right? And I just
Yep.
felt that was so powerful. Like if you get those small things right, you're going to be able to do the big things right. So my idea for the title of the book was put your socks on properly. And my publisher looked at me like that's a little bit hokey.
It's like, yeah, it's like a saying your grandfather might say to you,
Like
and
eat
you're
your
just like,
greens.
yeah, eat your greens. It's got that little niche like saying where you're just like, I've heard it before, but
Yeah.
it's like weird. Like, but no,
But
these things are hard. These decisions, like again, you go back and just like you
sure.
don't want to make the wrong decision. So like these,
I mean, I agree it's hokey, but like, my answer was, well, yeah, that's me. That's me. That's literally me. So, okay.
that's beautiful. Oh my
But
goodness.
but maybe that's
I'm
not
going
going
to
to sell a
call.
lot of books.
I'm gonna get a copy, and on the inside of the cover, I'm gonna write in over the title,
Yes.
"Put your socks on right."
So so that we abandoned that idea, and really the book, the message is the five tools, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the Flash framework. And so
Yeah.
because there's so much sports and tech and military examples as well, but really it fundamentally starts with sports metaphors. I just felt like tool five tool decision maker initially, but then it's really about the five tool team. So
Yeah.
my my objective was, if I can get leaders to think about how they form their teams
Mm-hmm.
through this framework of five tools. So maybe now the next person you hire will be based on the tools that complements other people who are already on your team, right?
Well, following along in that thought process, what can your book help business owners make better decisions? Or
Yeah,
how can that help? How can that help?
absolutely. So the five tools that I mentioned earlier, asking the right questions and scrutinizing the options and thinking about the consequences, like that should just be our daily reminder
Yeah.
when we are facing big decisions, like that's our checklist.
Mhm.
Ask yourself, am I doing some of those things? At least some of them. It's okay if you're not going 5 for 5. If you're batting 1,000, it's like I know that's ambitious, but
Yeah.
are you at least doing some of those things, right? And let me dive into one in particular that's really easy um, to bypass because we don't often do enough of it. So
Okay.
the S in Flash is scrutinize the options. Okay. Now, immediately you might think that what I mean is when you identify alternatives for possible decisions that you can make, you might think that what I mean is you're scrutinizing those alternatives against each other, right? I do mean that partially, but I also mean that you should scrutinize yourself. And that's a lot harder to do because that scrutiny of yourself is you need to ask yourself, what am I not asking? What am I not seeing? What information might I be ignoring that is blinding me?
Yeah.
And because desire creates blind spots. If I want something to happen, I'm going to ignore all of the information that points in the different direction and I'm only going to focus on things that confirm what I've already decided, right?
Yes.
That's the scrutiny part.
Yeah.
I imagine that you've gone through this process yourself while writing the book. So I want to know what you learn about the scrutiny of yourself and the process of writing this book.
Yeah. I mean, the saying that if you want to really learn something, try to teach it to other people.
Yeah.
This is definitely, because it's given me the opportunity to reflect back on big decisions that I've made. And so I actually talk about one of these in the book, which is retrospectively, 20 years ago, I made a really bad decision, which is buying a house.
Okay.
And I still own that house. Well, my wife and we still own that house. And I still think it was a bad decision, even though it's appraised. I mean, it's the value of that house is very high, right? After 20 years, the equity has been great. And eventually when we sell it, I'm sure it'll be a great windfall, but I don't want to judge the decision based on the outcome.
Yes.
If I rewind back to when we decided to buy that house, I think I fell into this trap of desire creating blind spots. I wanted to buy the house and I was going to do anything possible to get that house. And I felt almost like it was a competition against myself, right? That it's like, no, I'm stubborn. I want to get that house. I'm going to, even if it, if it has termites or if the roof's going to fall off or whatever, I'm still going to buy that house. And like looking back at that decision, it was terrible. And I think I was just immature and I wanted to be right. And I probably would not make that same decision now because I have a lot more patience and I have a lot more time to reflect on, that's a big decision, right? Yeah. And I know there are alternatives. And so if this house doesn't work out, there's other things that I can do to invest or other places that I can live and let's just slow down here, right?
Yeah.
But that's 20 years later, and maybe I have a little bit more gray hair and a few more scars. But yeah, I mean, it's humbling to go back and admit that I made a bad decision, for sure.
Yeah.
I look upon like just at the different journeys that I've come across, especially when doing this podcast. You go back in a lot of people's lives and just, again, we scrutinize, we look it upon, and I try my best to pull out the silver lining. I mean, I just am a positive thinker that way. I just try and look at it that way. And for me, ultimately, like the decisions I've made, I'm not always satisfied or kind of even down myself about. I always try and look at it as like, okay, well, just because it wasn't the right decision doesn't mean that the ripple effect of that decision, I could have learned from my mistake and made better decisions afterwards. So I really try and reflect upon if I did make a bad decisions, is there a net positive like that can I get from this learning moment? So I try, that's just who I am. I know for others it may be harder, but I try my best to share that with my listeners, or just overall, just everyone I come across. Of like, yeah, there's always going to be bad times, ups and downs. But if you live your life consistently and you get to your old age, you look back. Of course, you're going to have scars. Of course, you're going to have some low moments. To live a life fully in a upward trajectory is just it's not conducive. So I try my best to kind of live that mentality and give that to others. So I do appreciate you sharing a mistake that you've made, and I hope that again later down the road you'll even reflect even more and say, hey, look, maybe that house was a bad decision, but hey, one of the things I enjoy about this old house that I live in is my son, who's 5 now, there will be those little notches where we wrote in his age and how high he is, and that is, if I move out of this house, that's coming with me, sort of thing. But I do appreciate it, and I want to get into a little bit more about the decision factors and what mistakes do people make when deciding, in particular. I would like to get into that part of it. And then I will end our conversations with some light motifs and go into your goal setting. So sound good?
Yeah, that sounds great. So I'm happy to share another example of what I think people get wrong in decision making. And it's very simple, I think, to understand why people get it wrong. It's maybe a little bit harder to make the shift, but let me kind of set the table here. So this comes from Jeff Bezos, Amazon founder, and his philosophy for decision making is identifying 2 types of decisions.
Okay.
One type is what he calls a 2-way door decision, which is a decision that, like, the door is kind of the metaphor for the decision, but a 2-way door decision is when you walk through that door, if you don't like how things turned out, you can walk right back out.
Yeah.
So it swings both ways.
Okay.
So in other words, it's a decision that's reversible. You can hit the undo button. The other type of decision is a 1-way door decision. And that's the kind where once you walk through that door, there's no turning back. That door shuts behind you. So that it's not reversible, or it's very difficult to reverse. So this is a very simple way of categorizing the types of decisions, but this is where people, I think, get it wrong, is they miscategorize the kind of decision that's in front of them. And they tend to think that most decisions in front of them are 1-way door decisions.
Okay.
And that makes them agonize over it. It makes them overanalyze it. It makes them overthink. It takes them a long time and they just sometimes even don't make a decision, because they run out of time, right?
Yeah.
But here's the reality. I think most decisions that we face are 2-way door decisions. There are very few 1-way door decisions that we face.
Yeah.
And so I think the mistake is the miscategorization of decision. And so, like, if you're an entrepreneur and you want to experiment with a new product line or a new website or a new social media strategy, whatever it is, that's probably a 2-way door decision.
Yeah.
But if you want to acquire a company or sell your company, or do like Mike Tyson did, is get a tattoo on your face, that's probably a 1-way door decision.
I love the positive. This motif of like, yeah.
But you see, like, I mean, that was a decision he made, my friend.
Yes,
and
yes.
Yeah, that's definitely a
Go
1-way
back on
thing. You can't go back.
No, well, like you said, it's a very hard way to go back.
Yes.
It's on your face.
Yeah.
I do really appreciate that kind of motif of like,
mention.
It's really good.
But here's the takeaway: is like most decisions that we have are reversible. They're two way doors. Okay, and so just try it. Just just experiment with it. Like make a decision, and if it doesn't work out, just back out, hit the undo button, and undo it, and you're back where you started, and you can pivot and think of something else to do. And so one of the things that I love to tell people about is this whole two-way and one-way metaphor is if you have a one-way door decision in the future for yourself, what you can do is actually stack a bunch of two-way door decisions in front of it, like mini decisions that are going to get you better information. They're going to get you better data. They're going to help you kind of test drive before you have to make that big one-way door decision, that big leap. And I mean, we do that all the time. Like in engineering, we call these prototypes or models, right? And before we go out and buy a car, we test drive the car, right? Before we go marry somebody, we go on a date with them, you know? Like these are already
Different
things that we
experiments
do.
of the human experience.
That's right. You're just creating like mini experiments along the way so that you get better information, and then you make that one-way door decision with a lot more confidence.
Yeah. Well, now that we're speaking, and I'm going to move forward with our conversation, but that we are talking about now into the experimenting in the lab, and this is kind of a lighter motif to just kind of end us. Is you've been at the University of Arizona for over a decade now, and serving as the facility athletics representative to the conference. And the NCAA, working with the Arizona businesses that you have been working with, not only the teams, Arizona students. Again, we're talking about testing and experimenting new ideas and things. What is it about this state that makes it a good place to test big ideas?
That's a great question. And I mean, for me, the reason I was able to start this nonprofit, the Science of Sport, is because of the passion for baseball in the state of Arizona.
Yeah.
And in Massachusetts, I probably would not have been able to do it. First of all, it's frozen half the year, so good luck playing baseball. But I mean, they're just into other things, right? And so coming out here, I had a chance to meet Andy Lopez, who was at the time the head coach for the University of Arizona baseball team, and they had just won the College World Series in 2012. So there was all this buzz around town about the men's baseball team, and as you know, we have a very strong softball program as well at the University of Arizona, and I had a chance to meet Coach Mike Candrea, who at the time was still the coach, and just having all of these people reinforce and encourage me to go do this. And again, I give credit to the Diamondbacks. Debbie Castaldo, who is the executive director of the Diamondbacks Foundation, said, yes, Ricardo, let's go do this. I mean, look, these things don't happen in isolation. They don't happen with one person. They happen with a community of people who say, let's go do it. Let's go impact some kids. And that happened in Arizona, and it happened because it's Arizona. And that's what I give credit to, because we've been able to keep it running for over a decade, impact hundreds of thousands of kids all over the country. But still, this business, if you want to call it that, it's a nonprofit. I mean, it runs out of my house in Tucson, you know, it's, but it happened. It was born here, and it's still here, and it impacts kids all over the country.
Well, that's great, and I wish you. I'm giving you all the thoughts and prayers and best wishes for the entirety of your program and how you move along. And I know you're going to succeed. It's going to be great, and it's one of those things where it's like I feel very privileged that I get an opportunity to speak to you, because again, when I know that it's going to be successful, because again, there's a love and passion there that I cannot tell people, that you are the mascot for this. This should be literally, it should be a big version of you in a like bobblehead size version. So it's like, it's really great that you're behind this and you've taken the helm and you're really running with this. So I will end our conversation with is that are now like running all of these different elements of like a department, leading a nonprofit, writing, speaking, advising elite organizations. What's the next problem you're most excited to go after next, or go after this? Is like, also, what's the question that you haven't answered yet that keeps you up at night?
The next thing that I want to work on is how to make people better decision makers thanks to AI.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want AI to be doing the thinking for you. I don't want AI to be the thing that you outsource the hard work and the intellectual things to. You can outsource some things to AI, but at the end of the day, I don't want to hide from AI. I want to help people embrace it, but embrace it the right way, so that the human being is still doing the critical parts, but the AI is doing like the grunt work that a computer can do very well, and it can do it faster than a human being. Okay, so let's just outsource the crunching of the numbers to the AI, but then make the human being better and more effective thanks to their ability to use AI the right way.
Yes. I really do appreciate you giving me just this amount of time that you have today, because I honestly know that it's important to, what you do is like, we all have, it's time and effort put in, but it's, again, I go back to those who are going out there and making a true big difference on generations. So my son will be able to utilize the things that you put out into the world and make better decisions. So when it's kind of like that, I look at it as like, I'm just really wanting this to come out the best. And I want you to know that I am supporting you, and that I wish you nothing but the best of luck. And I hope that we can meet again together in person, and that I will be able to talk to you more about the successes that you have achieved. And so I really do appreciate your time. So before we go, give everyone a chance to know where they can find you online, where they can pick up a book, and anything and everything. This is your chance to promote. Take it away.
Thank you, Jose, again for having me. You can find me at ricardovalerdi.com. And the book, The 5-Tool Team, is available on Amazon and your favorite online retailer as well. So yeah, if you just type in my name into the booksellers or on Google, you will find me. Or if anybody wants to come for a tour of the University of Arizona facilities, Jose, you can bring your son down so he can see the baseball team, the football team, and all that good stuff. But we also got to get your son over to Diamondback Science of Baseball event so he can get excited about the numbers.
You have no idea. We'll talk, because he is a giant. Like, he loves going to the games. He's very much a baseball kid. My whole wife's side of the family, because they're Chicago natives, are Cubs fans, but they are one of those kinds that, like, they'll sit with the book, write the numbers down. They'll do it. Yeah. They're very much like always on, games always on in one part of the house. So it's definitely a love of numbers and a love of like a passion behind the sport of baseball. So I very much would take you up on that offer. So we'll talk after this. But before we go, ladies and gentlemen, you can hear every episode of our podcast at findingarizonapodcast.com. We make it easy for you to find us online. Social media wise is Finding Arizona Podcast. And last but not least, we say kisses, hugs, and belly rubs to our four-legged friends, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye, y'all.